Okay, we're live with no intro, I guess. My internet just decided to biff. Either way, this is the Overtime Drive bonus edition. It's not used to us going live on Tuesday. Tuesday, September the 23rd, we got a jam-packed show, a lot to react to. The SEC Big Show announces the official opponents for the next 4 seasons, 2026 through 2029. We're going to give our reactions to the schedule as a whole, talk some of the top games, obviously ones we're most looking forward to, those that stand out. Also, big news out of Norman today. Unfortunate news as John Mateer is having hand surgery. What does it mean for the Sooners? What will it mean if it's longer than expected, shorter than expected? What does it mean for Red River, which is in just a few short weeks? What does it mean if Michael Hawkins has to lead the way? We'll talk about all that, much more. Again, guys, this is the Overtime Drive. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Cole the Bear Thompson. Before we get going, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We're inching ever so close to 25,000 subscribers, and we can't do it without your love and support. Also, guys, check out our friends over at FANDUEL because, as always, we are brought to you by FANDUEL, FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, FANDUEL.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Big show tonight. SEC opponents reveal for the next 4 seasons. John Mateer injury news. Also, we'll get into some of your questions and your comments throughout the show, as we always do. Like I mentioned, I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, Cole the Bear Thompson. A busy day for the Bear yet again. Bear, I always say, it is a busy to be, or look at that. I can't even spit it out.
You can't say it.
It is a blessing. It is a blessing to be busy. Would you agree with that, sir?
You know, when you have to try to find time to get a haircut for the first time in 3 months.
You look good. Your hair looks
it's
great.
different. I want to make sure.
Because you're intentionally going no hat.
I want no hat.
You're like when you take your girl on a date and she's like, "Does anything look different about me?"
Exactly.
You wanted us to notice.
I'm your work wife. Did anything look different about me, sweetie? What's going on?
You wanted us to notice, and you know what? I do. I hope everybody drop a bear in the comments, a bear emoji in the chat for Bear's new haircut.
Or just give it a thumbs down if you think it looks terrible. Either way, regardless. Schedules came out. We get really good games coming on up. We get to kind of figure out where teams are headed for the next 4 years. Got some early winners, got some early losers. Let's go ahead and talk about it.
Sandman says Bear looks like he all growed up.
I know.
He's all growed up.
Disgusting. That's so sad.
Bear, you don't look a day over 23, brother. So
that's a compliment, I think.
It is, dude. You're going to be 40 and look like you're 28.
I mean, I still got 9 years until that happens, so I'm good.
Yeah, dude, you're rocking, brother. You're doing great in life.
Bags under my eyes say otherwise. I will say that. That's the one thing.
And I don't know that working in sports media is going to help those any. All right, let's get right into it, Bear. Again, next 4 years of schedules have been dropped. We really only have to look at the first 2 because it's essentially just flipped from those dates. Either way, we're going to get into this. I'm going to flash the schedules really quickly. Please forgive the graphics. This is what the SEC published, and for some reason they thought it was a good idea to put it in like size 6 font and put it on a dark background where nobody can read it. So it is what it is. Want to give our thoughts on everything. Of course, Bear, the schedules for 2026 and 2027 are out. Like I mentioned, you can't read that. I can't either. That's why I have it on my phone. Bear, we're not going to go into every single team, every single schedule, game by game, because we would literally be here all night, and neither you or I want to do that. And also the fact, too, guys, when we get to next preseason, we're going to go through team by team. We're going to break down all these schedules. Bear, my initial takeaway is this, the 9-game conference schedule. It's going to be brutal for pretty much everybody. It is, if you are 9-3 and you are not in the playoff, something has gone terribly wrong. And I think, obviously, we talked about it before. The SEC went to this format. Greg Sankey decided to give the green light because of the new protocol, the new format, if you will. They're going to weigh strength of schedule more, what have you. I did think it was interesting on the SEC network telecast that they mentioned that and I don't know exactly what algorithm they use or what formula they use to calculate this, but the strength of schedule and the metrics and essentially the separation from the most difficult schedule to the easiest, quote unquote, most manageable schedule. There was like a 22% margin between the top and the bottom. Now with these new schedules, apparently there's only a 6% margin between the toughest and the most manageable. Again, this is all factoring in or all dependent on how teams perform For example, they did mention like this isn't weighing what Vandy has done essentially last year and this year. So give or take, but your overall thoughts, we'll talk about some games we're excited about, of course, but again, Bear, 9-3's got to get you in the playoff because like seeing a 9-game conference schedule on paper, it's going to be pretty tough sledding for everybody.
Kind of has to be. I think what's going to be interesting is seeing how many teams, because remember, right now we have the 9-game conference schedule for the Big 12, we have the 9-game conference schedule for the Big 10, and the ACC is also moving to a 9-game conference schedule. So where we are at this point regarding the long-term status of the current college football playoff model, are we going to see more number 1 seeds be that 10-2 roster? Like, is that the outlier moving forward? Is 9-3 the new norm? And then at that point, does that factor into the SEC having more leniency because of you do recommend, you know how you talked about the strength of the record does have to play a factor into it. So it'll be interesting. Again, with a 9-game conference schedule, it just happens to be tough for everyone. Like there's no sugarcoating it. You're always going to have a risque matchup. And what's interesting is that at least in the SEC, if we continue to see the way that the games have gone this year and the way the teams are built this year, there's really not a bottom. Now, there's only a few at the very top, the elite of the elite. The Georgia, maybe you could throw in an Alabama. You could throw in, I would say, probably Texas at this point. Every few years, maybe an LSU. But a lot of everything else, kind of middle ground. Mississippi State could easily beat Tennessee one year, or Tennessee could easily lose to Florida, who also beats Alabama one season, who also proceeds to beat LSU. That's where we are. And that's what kind of makes this really interesting on how the new format with the College Football Playoff Committee, what are they going to view as efficient wins, signature victories, and enough to guarantee the college football, to guarantee how many teams go from the SEC.
Some of the comments, Bear, I want to go to this one. Sandman says, why does the SEC feel the need to keep pushing the rivalry between LSU and Texas A&M? Because it is a permanent opponent for both. Because the games have been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, have we forgotten, what was it, 74-72, where they printed the cups? I mean, I'm glad they kept that one. That's a fun game.
I listen, the LSU one, I would understand if it had to go away, just with A&M. But like, thank God, Sandman. I don't think Sandman's saying that, it's Texas A&M versus Texas. I'm like, I just got that game back. That's not going away anytime soon. As long as I am alive, living and breathing, I will make sure that game is being played every single year. And the only thing that needs to change is it being played on Thanksgiving. Because as long as it does that, then we're right back to where I was in my childhood, and life is good. My niece gets to grow up in a world where actual things that are supposed to make sense in college football are working. But, sometimes there are really good games that you just want to continue to see how they'll pan out. Now, what'll be interesting is that, again, right now it feels a lot like the Iron Bowl, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is when the Iron Bowl's played in Tuscaloosa, it's kind of a snooze fest. Alabama wins that game. They usually cover the spread. They usually find a way to guarantee that they're walking away with a very significant victory that people are talking about in kind of like an off-flyer put. When it's played in Jordan-Hare, shit goes crazy. Anything can happen. Literally, whatever you envision about that game, kick six, big-time touchdown pass, whatever it is, it can occur. And that's kind of where we are right now when it comes to this rivalry. Kyle Field, everything and anything is up for display. 2023, an opportunity. 2022, you had an opportunity to go to the college football playoff and win the SEC at 10 wins. You get upset by a 5-7 Texas A&M squad. 2024 rolls around, you bench Connor Wigman, the legend of Marcel Reed is born. The 72-74 game, whenever it's a Kyle Field, it usually, 99.9% of the time, it is the game that goes off its rocker. When it's played in Baton Rouge, A&M hasn't won there in like 30 plus years. You know what's going to happen. So it's more so built like that than these other rivalries that we're talking about.
Bear, let's talk about some of the big games. I'll pull up 2027 here in just a moment. Like I mentioned, we're not going to go through every game, every schedule. I'll actually go ahead and just pull it up now if you guys want to see it. 2026, though, Bear, a couple that jump out. First off, I'll say this. Kentucky's schedule's brutal, dude.
Yeah.
At South Carolina, at Tennessee, at Missouri, at A&M, at Oklahoma. Good luck, Cats. Good luck with that. We get Bama, Georgia, and Tuscaloosa. I'm glad. It's funny, Georgia fans aren't thrilled with that because they have gone to I guess 3 of the last 4 games between the two. I guess they will have gone to Tuscaloosa, if that's serves correct. I think I saw that on Twitter. Either way, great to have that game on the schedule. That one's a lot of fun. We get Alabama A&M in Tuscaloosa. That's a fun game. We do get the Tennessee, South Carolina game back in 2026. Of course, we get Georgia, South Carolina because they're a permanent. Georgia, Florida's in Atlanta, by the way, next year. Let's not forget that. And then Tampa in 2027.
Because of what's going on with Jacksonville, right?
Yes. Interestingly enough, because of the construction in Jacksonville. Shout out to the Jags. What was the other one? I believe A&M goes to Missouri. That's one of their permanents, obviously. Yeah. They'll go to Oklahoma. That'll be a fun one. Anyways, thoughts, Bear, on any of the games specifically that stood out to you? I'm just looking at the schedule here.
I'll tell you one for 2026 that is a little bothersome. I would have been fine knowing that they were taking away this matchup if Florida and Tennessee and LSU were split. So what's going to happen in 2027, LSU and Florida are going to play against each other. And then 2029, LSU and Florida are going to play against each other. The same thing is going to happen for Tennessee. I wish 2026 would have had Florida, Tennessee, 2027, Florida, LSU. But instead, both games are going to come in the 1 year. So it's kind of sucks because of if you're taking away 2 great rivalries that are very much under the radar that we don't talk about enough. We don't mention enough when it comes to what Tennessee is versus Florida. We don't talk enough about LSU versus Florida. At least have them being played on different years. So that way, what if LSU is really good one season and the next year they suck? What if Tennessee is having a terrible year, but then they show on up? It helps out both sides. I don't like that. That was one that really bothered me. The Mizzou game, Mizzou schedule for 2026. I'm not saying it's easy because, again, let's make this abundantly clear. You're playing in the SEC. It's not easy. With that being said, I do think that they have some breaks. Home against Oklahoma, home against Texas A&M, home against Florida, home against Kentucky, home against Texas. Toughest road game right now, probably Georgia. But what do you argue the next one? Is it Mississippi State? Is it Ole Miss? Is it Arkansas? You got to feel pretty good if you're Mizzou because it's a good baseline to be able to continue to build it. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Again, I don't think it's an easy schedule like Mizzou Shane's kind of pointing out.
I learned this past weekend, Bear, they get really irritated with the schedule talk.
Right. It's not their fault. It isn't. Because here's the thing. What happens if it's what happens if it's the same that we saw this past year? 6 straight home games, and then you play like 3 on the road before you're back home. That's challenging because it's like you never get a break to get back to normal. So I don't think that makes it easy. But the games that you do have at home do favor you a little bit. Just a little bit. And that's a good thing for Mizzou. Because I think that there's going to come a level of where we kind of have to stop talking about Mizzou as this team that, they get lucky with the schedule. Once you start rattling off 10-plus win seasons, you're a good team. Like, you weren't beneficial from the schedule. You were just good enough to be able to show double-digit wins are on the horizon and consistent for you. And right now, we're pushing back-to-back and potentially a 3rd straight year where 10-plus wins is going to be in Como.
Bear, I will say this. Mizzou may have gotten a manageable draw in 2026. 2027.
It's brutal.
2027 now. There will be no talk of Missouri's schedule in 2027 in that light. At A&M, at Oklahoma, at Alabama, at LSU, at South Carolina. Home dates with Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, and Vandy. And who knows what the doors are at that point. But there will be no talk of the schedule in 2027 being, quote-unquote, easy. How about 2027? We finally are getting Georgia going to College Station. Finally.
What was it, 15 years at this point now?
Insane
16 years?
Insane how long it took. Insane. Absolutely insane. It is weird, I'll say, for 2026, and I saw a Tennessee fan talking about this, no Georgia or Florida for them in 2026. That is odd, to say the very least. We got a lot of Texas folks tuned in here. Let's zero in on Texas for a moment. Of course, the A&M game stays. The Oklahoma game stays. you got to go to LSU in 2026. I think they'll be very excited for that. This was a game that was supposed to be played in 2020. Obviously, Texas was still in the Big 12, LSU SEC. COVID happened. We went to an all-conference schedule, so it did not happen. I am really, really pumped to see that game. Texas at LSU will be a lot of fun. And I know Sandman already said he's already booked the flights or is in the process of booking the flights. So that one will be a good time.
How about Oklahoma? Oklahoma schedule, South Carolina at home, Kentucky at home, Ole Miss at home, Texas A&M at home. All good games. At Florida, at Georgia, at Mississippi State. And think about this for a second. Depending on what goes on with John Mateer, he still has another year of eligibility. You get some of those games back-to-back at home, kind of ease your way in, get yourself in a pretty decent schedule. You got to feel confident about when you get on the road. Team's more mature. They've already been in the battle. You got the matchup that's going to be out in Red River. That's a schedule that I think is very, very manageable at this point. Like I like what Oklahoma has right now when it comes to their road matchup. The game that you got to worry about, it comes down to one, Georgia. Everything else, again, it's very hard to argue that you have Ole Miss, Kentucky, South Carolina, Texas A&M in your backyard. I think you'll take that. Tennessee. What I found interesting about Tennessee, and tell me if you want to push back just a little bit. Tennessee has, in my opinion, the easiest permanent rivals with Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt right now. They have a tough challenge, though. At South Carolina, home against LSU, Auburn, depending on if they get their shit together, comes around, at Texas A&M. I mean, like, the SEC.
And they get Texas at home. I'm excited to get the battle of the UTEs on the gridiron finally.
So, like, they said, okay, we'll give you the easy rivals. We're still going to make it challenging for you.
Yeah.
Like, Danny White got lucky by getting the 3 permanents, but everything else, you're like, dude, you're going to have to earn it.
Well, and that's the thing, man. Again, there's not even a reason to go through all the schedules because, again, if you play 9 conference opponents and you're a 10th, there's only 2 teams you're not playing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like Auburn maybe has a gripe because they're going to play Bama, Georgia every year. Like that's pretty brutal, but that's your life as an Auburn fan. Those are your rivals.
That's in your life.
But hey, you could say the same thing about Texas. If Oklahoma continues to pop and if A&M continues to pop under Elko, I mean, it's not quite that level, but like it's not like they got a cake. Nobody got a cakewalk. Yeah. Nobody got a cakewalk. These are all challenging. They're all difficult. Again, Bear, the big takeaway, I'm excited for it all, but a 9-game conference schedule on paper, if you go 9-3, you better make the playoff. That's all I'm saying. You better make the playoff at 9-3.
Who do you like schedule-wise? Just early thoughts going into 2026. Because I think the right answer for me.
I like Bama.
You do?
Well, at Mississippi State, they got to go to Tennessee, at Kentucky, at Vandy. You got to go to LSU. But I still like it. I like Mizzou's, like you said, 2026. I do. A&M's is tough. At
A&M's
LSU, at Mizzou, at Bama, at Carolina, at Oklahoma. South Carolina's is tough. Well, I mean, what's your
Mizzou?
Mizzou, yeah.
Mizzou, and that's not an insult. That isn't. You still
why have to apologize? Who cares?
Yeah, you still have to win.
You're a Mizzou fan. Who just take advantage of it?
Seriously, sincerely, like honestly. But Arkansas, it's going to be probably a first-year head coach. Mississippi State, depending on what they are, will be interesting. Are we going to see the magic of Lane Kiffin stay alive one more year out in Oxford? Is he still out in Oxford? Again, people are going to bring up what happens with Gainesville. The job opens up down in Florida. Does he take it? You have a veteran roster coming on back at that point. That's good. Like, I think that's very, very beneficial. Auburn, though.
Tough.
If Hugh Freeze makes it out this year, and he could, I don't know if he does next. Home against Vanderbilt, at Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Home against Florida, Arkansas, LSU.
Yeah, the goal should be to get to 9-3. Like if you could get to 9-3, you had a great year. But it's crazy because let's say they got to 9-3 this year, the expectations.
It's going to go through the roof.
They only keep going up. But I think a lot of fan bases in this conference are going to have a lot of understanding. You might be picking up another loss that you're not used to having because the schedules are so difficult. So Bear, before we get off of this, everybody in the comments, everybody out there, we want to talk about the John Mateer stuff. Any closing thoughts on the schedules?
I will be very intrigued to see how the College Football Playoff Committee this year views the way that records are talked about. Because remember, we were told at the very beginning of the year that strength of wins is going to play a major role into how we look at your records. Do they honor that? Because if they honor that, it's a good sign to say there will be some teams that, again, like we talked about with Oklahoma this year, they have a devil-ass schedule. It's terrible. They find a way to go 9-3. Is that better than a 10-2 in the Big Ten or a 10-2 in the ACC? Probably. But are they going to be penalized for having that tough schedule? That's going to play another role when it comes to the future of the college football playoff with this 9-game conference schedule. Because they may just say to yourself, dude, it doesn't matter. You have to play 9 games. You have to go 9-3 to even be considered, even if you have that other out of left field non-conference game that's challenging. Because South Carolina, you're not taking away the game of Clemson. You're just not. Kentucky, you're not taking away the game with Louisville. You're not taking away the game of Florida State if you're Florida. That's part of history. It's part of what is the state laurels. Some of these schools have state laws that say that they have to play against each other every year. So you can't get rid of that. Is that a year to where you say to yourself, we don't have a roster that is good enough to go to 9-3 in our conference, therefore we're just not going to the playoff? And do you let that kind of be known? Because it's going to be really important to see how they view the playoff this year going into next year with the 9 conference games.
Mizzou shame. Will most SEC teams keep 2 cupcakes, you think, for non-con, or will we see 0-1 cupcakes? I don't know what 0-1 cupcakes really are. But, yeah, unless you – I think, Bear, unfortunately, unless you have got a Clemson or a Florida State or something like that you kind of have to play. Yeah, I mean, this is why you're seeing series canceled. I think the big non-con showdowns are probably, for the most part, dead. Like, why would you? Why would you?
Well, you're going to have to play, remember, with the new rule, you're going to have to play other Power 4 team.
Yeah.
So it could be a Wisconsin that's going through a rebuild. It could be an Ohio State.
That's not quite equal, is it?
No. It could be a Wake
very
Forest.
Strategic in this.
Could be a Wake Forest. Could be an SMU. Could be a USC that's going through a rebuild. Could be Clemson. And it could be a really good Clemson team. Like, you have to schedule that game. The other two, and I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. I don't care if you're a Big Ten fan or an ACC fan. It's going to be 2 FCS schools, or it's going to be Western Kentucky. It's going to be a Conference USA program. It's going to be a Sun Belt school. And you just got to shut up and take it. Because, again, if the SEC did what you asked and got to that 9th conference game, you can't be sitting up here on your high horse looking at, Indiana, they play 9 conference games. Yeah, and they also play Western Illinois. And they also play Mercer. And they also play a Sun Belt school. Okay, cool. Oh, they have to actually play another Power 4 team. They only get 2 cupcake games. Yeah, but Old Dominion really wasn't a cupcake game. Stop it, Kirk. Stop it, Kirk Cignetti.
But as we saw, too, be strategic with your G5s you schedule, because as Arkansas showed us, nothing is guaranteed.
Florida
showed us with South Florida. Make sure you're careful with those, too, when you're doing your scheduling. Guys, love to hear your thoughts on the schedules. Again, we will do deep dives on these, obviously, as we get ready for the 2026, 2027, those schedules. About who knows? Maybe at that point, I mean, my God, guys, we're talking about 2029 over here. By 2029, Bear, SEC Unfiltered, we might have a studio in Nashville or Houston or Dallas or somewhere else, and you and I are doing the show in person. God knows what it all looks like at that point. So
beautiful.
We that is the goal, no doubt. That is the goal, no doubt. All right, Bear, let's get in this John Mateer thing. Big news coming out of just felt like nowhere today. Pete Thamel reporting, obviously Oklahoma reported it. John Mateer's injury, a broken bone in his right throwing hand that he suffered in the first quarter against Auburn on Saturday night. If you look at the picture, Oklahoma Fan Studios, his hand is hitting the defender. I guess that's where he did it. Estimated timeline after surgery expected to be about a month, as the surgery is considered pretty straightforward. Set to have the surgery in Los Angeles on Wednesday. Dr. Steven Shin will perform the surgery. Mateer finished the Auburn game, of course, 24-17 win. Bear, this is interesting because you've got some reports out there. Let me say, you've got Kent State this week. You've got a bye. Then you've got Red River. So there's 3 weeks, essentially, 2.5, basically 3. We'll call it 3 weeks till that game. Michael Hawkins is your backup, a guy we're familiar with. He played last year. I told you off air, and I'll say it again. If I go to Red River and John Mateer doesn't play, I'm going to shed a single tear because I just can't catch a break with this game, it seems. I didn't go last year, thankfully. And I'm not saying that it's too early to project that game, although it's funny, Bear. I've already seen some Texas accounts. I think it was our friends over at Orange Bloods are already putting out there. They're not saying, what if Texas beats Oklahoma without John Mateer? They're saying, how much is Texas going to win by? What's the margin if John Mateer does not play? So they're feeling pretty confident. Bear, hopefully it's only a month, or hopefully it's 3 weeks. Hopefully he's back at Red River. But if he's not, this is a significant blow because the way that John Mateer has carried that offense, and specifically, Bear, the way he has carried that running game. Yeah. If you take away John Mateer's rushing production, and listen, Michael Hawkins is fleet of foot. Michael Hawkins can run the football. He is not John Mateer. If he was, they may not have brought in John Mateer, right? Like he is obviously not John Mateer. So reaction, I know when you saw the news, it was like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Oklahoma fans are like, we can't have anything. Your immediate reaction to the news and what it means if Michael Hawkins plays in Red River and even beyond.
It's a gut punch. I mean, that's really it. You get a signature win after proving that you handle business against another Power 4 team, and one that can actually have weapons on the outside, because people were starting to come up with narratives about how you don't have anything at Michigan at wide receiver. Well, you have wide receivers currently in Auburn. You have elite wide receivers. Every single one would have been a wide receiver one down in Norman on Saturday if you just had him. You get a win, and it feels like you lose. It feels like you get a giant slap in the face that, oh yeah, well, we have to get payback somehow for officiating being so terrible. Oh, we're going to take away your quarterback. This is your reward for winning a game because of people are saying, oh, well, officials decided to go ahead and determine who was going to come out on top. So it really is a loss. I don't even worry right now about what it comes to from the rushing attack. I don't care what it comes to when it comes to the passing attack, because yeah, you are right. I mean, Michael Hawkins can scoot. Michael Hawkins can throw the football. He can do enough to keep this offense afloat. I care about the mentality. The mentality of what has been this offense and the way that people follow Mateer into battle is such an underrated trait. And I constantly talk about this. There is a certain brand that it takes to play quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. And Mateer has it. And Baker had it. And Jalen had it. And Kyler had it. And I would say Josh Heupel had it. And a couple others had it. You don't just get to play quarterback at the school and find success if you don't act like the alpha dog. And I just don't know if you have that with Michael Hawkins in terms of personality, to where players are going to rally behind him down by 7, and they're going to want to go to war and put in that extra effort, go that extra mile, make that last blow, guarantee that they're able to push it just an extra step. They may not have it. And so that's where the situation comes in. And the other part is that, again, winning Red River is such bragging rights. Number one, you get to go ahead and talk massive shit to your rival. But the other thing is, remember the schedule afterwards. Remember what happens when you exit Dallas. Take a deep breath. Oh no, we got to go play in South Carolina. Oh no, we have to go face off against Ole Miss. Oh God, we have to go face off against Alabama on the road. We have to go face off against Tennessee in their backyard. Oh, we got to go do all these things. We saw LSU ahead.
Mizzou.
We get to walk them in Mizzou. But still, you have all these games that still are on the horizon. And the problem is, what if you go 9-3? Do they punish you for not having your quarterback? Maybe you beat South Carolina and you end up losing to Texas, you end up losing to LSU, and you end up losing to Mizzou. And you're 9-3 and you're sitting on the outside, and people are wondering, well, they're not going to keep us out, are you? They kept out South Carolina last year. Remember, South Carolina lost its quarterback for the second half against LSU, went 9-3, and they said, it doesn't matter. They didn't have their quarterback. We don't care. He went 9-3. That was it. So you need the win against Texas. And I just don't know if you can do it with Hawkins. Hawkins was uninspiring last season when he played in Red River. He was uninspiring in the Armed Forces Bowl. It's a major letdown. It truly is. And that, to me, is why it hurts to lose Mateer. because of just the persona of how this team has looked offensively. Even when it has been disgusting, they're able to get the job done because if you trust your quarterback and your quarterback is the leader and he is the general and people are wanting to go to war with him. Do you have that with Hawkins? I don't know. And that's scary. That's entirely scary.
It is. Bear, Sandman, our guy Sandman, he is convinced that Brent Venables and company are playing mind games and John Mateer is going to play in Red River. No right or wrong answer, but I'm going to ask you today, Cole the Bear Thompson, today,
no.
Does John Mateer play in Red River?
No.
It'd be 17 days because this is tomorrow. 17 days after a hand surgery.
No. And I'll explain why.
And it's his throwing hand, obviously.
Yeah. I'll explain why. You can't bank on just that game for the rest of the season. I get it. It's a big matchup. It's a rivalry. It, in my opinion, is the second best rivalry in college football. I stand behind it. It's a unique experience. And you have a defense that is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Texas. You have an offense that's very underrated when it comes to the wide receiver position that I think can actually win its one-on-ones. You don't have a run game, but you know what? You have a quarterback that's mobile. But what you can't do is say, we're going to rush John Mateer back. What if he gets hurt in the game? And now he's out for 2 months. And now he's done for the rest of the year. You have to look at the grand scheme and say, we're going to be 5-0. Because if you lose with Michael Hawkins against Kent State, a Kent State team that fired its coach before the season even began, they have one win, and it came in overtime against an FCS program. That's your win.
They could let their defense play both ways, and they'd beat Kent State.
And they still should win. So you're going to be 5-0.
Let R. Mason Thomas run the ball. I mean, they'll win the game.
You honestly, at this point, why not? Try anything.
Let Kanak play quarterback.
Sure, why not? Sure. Let's see some reverse play. Let Isaiah Satenga just run jet sweep motions throughout the entire game.
Just play Wildcat the whole game. You'll win.
Yeah, but you have 5-1 after that matchup. You can't risk it because what if again you rush him back, he gets hurt. Now he's not going to play for South Carolina. He's not going to be available to travel to Neyland. He's not going to be available to go into Tuscaloosa. He may be back for LSU at this point. What are you at that point? Are you 8-3 looking to go 9-3? Are you 7-4 looking to go 8-4? Like your season's thrown off the rails. You can't risk it. So I just don't think he's going to. I can't.
Yeah, if I said I thought he was going to play, Bear, the only reason I'd be saying that is because I'm hoping and trying to speak it into existence because we will be at the Red River Shootout, and it is a shame to think about that we're going to get that game without John Mateer. I hope a miracle happens. I do. But I agree with you. I severely doubt it. I mean, depending on what South Carolina is, you may not bring him back to the Ole Miss game. People are saying he plays at South Carolina. And I mean, not making light of what a challenge of going to Williams-Brice Stadium will be. But again, if South Carolina, they continue to stumble, God, feel like they lost to Kentucky or something, or like that, right. You know what I mean? Depending on what that team looks like, maybe you say, hey, let's just give it one more week and roll the dice. And like you said, they're not going to put his future at jeopardy. If they were, he'd just try to play through this thing. And they're not doing that. So I don't think he's back either. It's unfortunate. Like you said, it is a massive blow. It absolutely changes the outlook of the Red River game. We'll cross that bridge when we get there and talk more about it, of course, when we know more the week of. But yeah, I would imagine he'll be ruled out for that game. And that sucks. It sucks as a fan of college football. It sucks as a fan of wanting to see a great game in Red River. It sucks, obviously, if you're an Oklahoma fan. Don't want to overdo it because, again, if he's only out a month, he's only out a month. But, that might cost you a loss or two that could cost you dearly at the end of the season. So
they're going
to have to get really creative with Michael Hawkins, and that running game is going to have to step up. They're going to have to start running the football conventionally. That's what they haven't been doing. John Mateer's bailed them out.
Yeah.
With the run game. They're going to have to run it conventionally.
Two good things, though. Number one, you get to figure out what is your rushing attack because you kind of have to at this point.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. You have to figure out what Troy Blaylock is. Did we miss on Jaden Ott? What about Javante Barnes? You got to figure out what you got in that run game. And it starts against Kent State. And it's got to continue on into Red River. It does. But also, you have a good defense. I mean, like you have for my money either the best or the second best defensive line in college football right now. I will stand on that. The way that you were able to get after Auburn, the way that you were able to make their offensive line, which I still think is a very good offensive line. Like I get people were going and shitting all over it on Twitter. In my opinion, it still is a solid offensive line that lost a couple of battles because it went up against the best defensive line. And you're going to be able to do that against Texas. I think I still have my questions when it comes to Texas. And as for the Texas fans out there, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I really don't. Because if I know how important this game is, and I also am never going to tell you how to act for this matchup, because if this is what makes this game so beautiful. But can you please make sure during the bye week, in between your tauntingness of everything going on in Norman, you also start preparing for Florida? Because the last thing you want to do is overlook what's going on down in Gainesville, and DJ Lagway rises from the ashes on one leg and kicks your ass. And now you go into this matchup at 3-2, and it really, really dampers the mood of what is Red River.
Yeah, now and then it won't be all that funny too, even if you win, if the offense still looks porous in doing so. I like what somebody commented earlier. We might be in for a 3-2 Red River shootout, 7-3, 10-7 type of deal. Who's
no? That's the thing with Red River. This will be like
going to get wacky.
This will be like the one game where Michael Hawkins hits two receivers for 45 yards down the field and it's a touchdown, and Arch ends up having 600 passing yards. Like it's weird. And then the next week it goes right back to being pedestrian and boring. That's where it is.
Want to know how big of a game the Red River shootout is? We've been talking about this game for weeks, Bear, and it's not until the middle of October. So as much as we talk about the rest of the SEC each week by week, there's this underlying Red River shootout is circled on the SEC calendar, not just the calendar for Texas and Oklahoma. So again, we'll see how John Mateer recovers from the injury. Guys, love to hear your thoughts. How does it change the trajectory for Oklahoma? If he's out for an extended period, do you think Michael Hawkins can come in and maybe save the day, or at least steady the ship and control the wheel and not let that thing go into the ditch until John Mateer gets back? That is the big question. Again, speedy recoveries to John Mateer. We hope he's back soon.
I do love Mizzou Shane kind of now understanding that it could happen. it makes me laugh.
Yeah,
so hard.
Florida's got a way of rising from the ashes themselves. So,
well, but the thing is like, it's so funny to me that everybody craps on Drake. Everybody, they cannot. They hate him. They hate him until he's available, and that's like, I kind of want him. It's like I don't want to face it. You're an asshole, but then I want you. Like, but now I kind of want
Mizzou Shane. I mean, I was in Como this past week, and Mizzou Shane's not the only one that's had that thought run through their head. Hey, I hope Drink doesn't end up in Gainesville. We'll see. I don't think it'll happen, but you never know. Yes, he's crazy. Yes, he's crazy. Bear, let's go ahead and put a pin in it. Really good stuff tonight. Little quick hitter tonight for you guys. This is a lot of fun. Again, we got schedules, we got John Mateer news, and just never a dull moment in the SEC. Never a dull moment. There's always news dropping, and that's why we're always here over at SEC Unfiltered, the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered's SEC Football Show, the best SEC football show on the internet. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys tuning in, commenting, hanging out with us for a little bit here on a Tuesday night bonus edition of the Overtime Drive. We'll be back on Thursday to lock in all of our picks, our pick'em for week number 5, and it is a fun one, no doubt, jam-packed with some big-time matchups and some under-the-radar matchups as well. Certainly not a slate to sleep on, safe to say. Guys, again, we appreciate you all. Before we get out of here, I do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel's got you ready for the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines. Whatever your style, FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season's here. The only question is, are you ready to play? If you're not, visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Maybe go sprinkle some action on Bears, Houston Texans. They got to win a game at some point.
Please,
they got to win a game at some point.
When are they going to beat Tennessee this weekend? Your Titans at this point.
My Titans.
Your Titans. Yeah, is that what's going to happen? I mean,
listen. The Titans stink. So, but Cam Ward's a baller.
I'll say, and what this should be the game. I'm telling you. Yeah, I will say, Sandman's 100% right. Pour one out for Gundy. What a legend.
Cheers to
an
Mike
absolute
Gundy,
legend.
the next offensive analyst on Steve Sarkisian's staff.
No, he's gonna be on Shane Beamer's staff.
There you go. Somebody's staff. Somebody's getting old Gundy.
It's a tough day to be in the state of Oklahoma. Let's just go with
tough
that.
day to be in the state of Oklahoma. Tough day to be an Okie State fan, no doubt. Guys, that'll do it for us. Again, we appreciate you all tuning in. Really good stuff. Overtime Drive back Thursday. Stay tuned to all of our content bleeding out of the eyeballs. In the meantime, y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday night. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you all. We're signing off. We'll see you on Thursday. Y'all take care. Cheers.